grandfather is skeptical. He only believes in one legend. Well, my name is Ivan. I'm an anthropology student who grew up in North America, captivated by intriguing tales from my grandfather, an immigrant from the former Soviet Union. His residence always emitted a mysterious ambiance, adorned with recollections and distinctive items from that particular nation. My family moved from the USSR decades ago, but my grandfather carried with him a load of skepticism and a narrative he cherished. Despite being 86 years old, he remains a robust and discerning individual. He consistently sought to question and occasionally jest about various beliefs, whether they were folkloric or political doctrines. He asserted that ideologies were the fables of individuals who deemed themselves clever. Yet, there was one particular myth he refrained from jesting about or discussing. I remember an occasion when my elder cousin Nicholas casually brought up the name of that being as a jest during a family gathering at my grandfather's residence, only to receive a serious rebuke. Following that episode, we refrained from discussing it, be it at my grandfather's home or any other family assembly. I'm revealing this for a purpose. He disclosed it to me during our recent meeting. We share a strong bond, and I frequently pay him visits. Without boasting, and hoping neither Nicholas nor any others discover this, I hold a special place in his heart. He often remarks on how much I resemble him at my age, showering me with numerous gifts. However, this time I visited with a specific objective. In university, we delved into the study of Slavic culture, exploring the distinctions in the evolution of Eastern and Western Europe. And who better to consult than my elderly Soviet grandfather? I phoned him, inquiring about his availability, and we scheduled a coffee meeting in the afternoon. He prefers environments reminiscent of his homeland, snowy landscapes and mountains. Thus, he resides near Aspen, Colorado. It's approximately a 2-hour drive until you come across his fortress, meaning a self-built wooden cabin. It's an enchanting place, to say the least. Our conversation extended for a significant duration, losing track of how late it had grown. He recounted tales of joyful times, reminiscing about his childhood roaming the streets of Moscow, his cherished babushka, and the monks distributing bread in the city. Due to my youth, he refrained from divulging many specifics about the war, as his recollections are scarce. His father served as a radio operator, and his mother worked as a seamstress. He had a good education, learning to read early, with early exposure to his favorite. Came across it. His gaze was uneasy, as was his voice and the swallow in his throat. It was a slender thing, pale, leaning over a guy I didn't know, but God rest his soul. The man's coat was stained with blood, a large hole in the fabric revealing a side wound. The thing seemed to be draining the crimson liquid oozing from the wound. I took a few steps back, but it was too late. The devil's spawn had seen me, looked at me while growling, and its eyes were so bright. His hand holding the coffee cup was trembling. I turned around to start running, but I could hear its agile footsteps behind me. Glancing back, I saw it running on all fours, like an animal. I could see my door just over 50 meters away when it pounced on me, knocking me down. I turned and saw its deformed face a few inches from mine. It growled while its iron-like breath flooded my nostrils. The creature seemed prepared to make me its victim, just like the previous man, but upon opening my coat, it encountered my crucifix. He clutched the crucifix around his neck, a constant companion since I can remember. For a brief moment, the creature hesitated, fell backward, and I, not being a fool, continued running. I almost broke down my door with the speed I rushed at it. I could see the beast regaining composure and coming, this time more furious. I had already entered, but there was no way to close the door before it arrived. It was a few meters away when it stopped, out of nowhere. It stared at me. My legs wobbled. It circled for a few moments and then left. I closed the door while breathing heavily, collapsing into the armchair, utterly incapable of standing. My breath condensed into dense, wet clouds when a quick, subtle knock on my door made me jump. It repeated once, followed by a female voice. "Hey Mika, it's me." It was the voice of the German girl from the bar. "There's something out here, I'm so scared. Let me in?" I couldn't move, just mumbled, "The door is open." And I can only credit God for putting those words on my lips. He made the sign of the cross. Her knock was louder this time. "Can I come in?" Her voice was more restless now, not just scared, but even impatient. I said the door is open, didn't I? I walked to the peephole. There she was. It was indeed the girl, but gradually, as she heard me approaching, her strange smile grew, her canine teeth enlarged, while her nose retracted in a strange and elevated manner. He avoided explicitly mentioning the term vampire, as I mentioned earlier, but every detail painted the image of a bloodthirsty creature. "You can't come in?" She knocked so hard that it nearly knocked the door off its place. I jumped back. She knocked harder, nearly taking the door off its hinges. "Get out of here, demon," I shouted. "You can't hide forever, Mikhail," she said, turning around. "I know where to find you." Well, I guess you can imagine why I moved here. I fled 2 days later, afraid that something would happen to me. I came here, where I met your grandmother, and things couldn't have worked out better than they did. I was processing that for a while. I expected a laugh at the end, a proclamation that it was just a joke, but no. Those words were true. I won't include them in my work, except as an urban legend that my grandfather heard in his hometown. That's why I came here to report what happened. We stared at the flames in silence after the story, while I digested everything that had occurred. Suddenly, a thump made me jump, a knock on the door. My grandfather chuckled. "Are you scared, lad? Relax. If it's one of those things, I have a bag of garlic in the kitchen." He laughed again to himself as he walked to the door. A muffled voice through layers of clothing sounded, "Hey, is anyone home? My car is stuck in the snow and I can't go back home. Can I come in and use your phone?" My eyes met my grandfather's. What kind of twist of fate was this? I looked out the window. Someone in a thick orange coat, a scarf wrapped around the lower half of their face, and a beanie on their head. My grandfather opened the door. "Do you want to use my phone?" he said, stepping back. "Yes, please." The voice seemed clearer now, without a door in the middle, and she pulled the scarf slightly away from her mouth. My grandfather stared at her. "I swear I won't take long. With a subtle movement, my old man had taken off his crucifix. The creature was now retreating. "You're getting old, Mikhail. You won't stand there forever," she hissed as she moved away from the door and disappeared into the forest. That was the same girl from that night. My grandfather seemed somewhat affected. He tried to conceal it with his characteristic manner, but I noticed he didn't let me leave until he was sure the sun covered the entire plain. I came home, constantly checking my rearview mirror and taking extra care when entering my house. It's been a few months since that happened, and I'm finally reporting it. 2 weeks after that encounter, he disappeared. Shortly afterward, presumed dead. Probably some animal got him, or his old age and confused mind made him lose his way. We'll never know. But I know one thing. My grandfather told me that for a reason, and if that thing crossed the ocean to reach him, how much time do I have before someone knocks on my door?